You got a couple grand in gear just in the SSDs.
I know, seriously.
We're really up in the game on the podcast.
Dude, when Janoran made that reel or something the other day about how expensive they had gotten, I did not know SSDs had gotten that expensive. It's like Bitcoin or something, man. It's crazy.
I think it was a supply chain issue, right? Or
there's an element used both in SSDs and in SD cards that is the same element found in these physical servers that are running the AI spaces, and they're getting all bought up for that. Sony stopped making their Tough Series SDs and CF Express cards completely.
What a time to be in film.
Yeah, for real.
What a time.
Who would have thought?
Bring it back.
Who would have thought? Yes, sir. Film's gonna somehow full circle be cheaper than digital. Yeah. God, that would be.
That'd be hilarious if you could get to like actually compare the cost of a shot from a roll of Portra 400 to one shot on a 128 gig SD card at some point.
Yeah. Somebody needs to do it. Smarter than me needs to do a breakdown. Zach Galifianakis has got the equation.
Yeah. Peter McKinnon will make a video on it soon.
Yeah. I'm glad to see him shooting some film. I followed him for a long time just because I liked his content,
Yeah.
But
so funny story about Peter McKinnon. I used to lead a workshop in national parks, but I am like in my own bubble at all times, and that stayed true when I got into photography.
Yeah.
And one night we're having an editing session at the table, and I'm walking around like we're talking and sharing how we do things, and that was the first time I edited on an iPad. Well, one guy's talking about some guy named, Garrett King and Peter McKinnon. And I was like, oh, are they, interested in coming to the workshop? And they all like look at me and they're like, no, dude. And I was like,
Peter McKinnon.
They're like, do you not know? And I was like, clearly not. And they're like, all right. They're like, what photographers do you follow? I was like, a bunch of people who live in Birmingham. And they're like, no one else? And I was like, no one. Just Birmingham people. Yeah. And
hey, stay local, man.
And that's it. I think at that was what, 2021. I think the only other photographer I followed outside of Birmingham might have been like, I can't even think of one. Everyone was local.
Yeah. It was I guess even then it's weird how quickly algorithms change and you start really seeing, like now I feel like my algorithm, I'm not seeing anything Birmingham, but 2021 or 2020, it was like, that's all I saw. It felt like my bubble was a lot smaller. Just what I was seeing. But saying that to doing these workshops and all that. So a little backstory is we met on a photo shoot years ago, strapping young man, playing the role of a groom, and our beautiful friend Carrie.
Back when I could model.
Yeah, you knocked the dust off tonight. But,
100%.
So, funny enough, that was one of 3 shoots that we were doing our own sort of rebranding, Rachel and I, and we couldn't find what we wanted. As far as workshops or something, a lot of people will go to workshop and expand their portfolio. And we said, you know what, we're putting our own shoots together and location. And that was a dress that we had that we'd found at a thrift shop years ago and knew it fit her perfectly and all that, this, that, and the other. But you weren't shooting then. And from just a little talk before the podcast started, you were working as an accountant then. So catch us up and the listeners up to kind of, to me, that was what, 2015, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, 15, 16. Not long after that, I actually got hired for my first shoot. The iPhone portrait mode came out, and I took like one good photo, and I got messaged and asked to take pictures of someone's dogs for $250 on the iPhone portrait mode.
And they knew that that's what it was when they knew that that's what they were getting when they hired you was, hey, you're bringing an iPhone in.
iPhone portrait mode. By the time the shoot rolled around, I had a Moment lens with me, so I was rolling.
Yeah.
Moment.
That's awesome.
I remember when Moment really hit the market hard.
P5 filter from Visco.
P5, yeah. The good old days. Man, Visco's changed, right? I mean,
Yeah.
They're starting to, I don't want to say make a comeback as if they ever went away, but I feel like I'm starting to see more.
It almost like they hit
them.
hard, and then
Yeah.
to me, this is my experience with Visco. It's almost Visco became cheesy, if I can use that word.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then now it's like, probably because they really do have good marketing and branding and smart people there.
Yeah.
They have found a way to ride the wave back up, and,
Right,
and they're
right.
they're coming back around, and they're getting some people I think that have really good style and really good portfolios that are using them or tagging them and kind of shouting them out.
Well, they have
But
like
it's-
brand ambassadors now. Like Joe Greer's
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
Jared Tappy's another. Like they're really starting to tap into that. I think.
Now, I do like something outside of Instagram. I do like the feed
yeah,
of
yeah.
just kind of seeing photography in that way.
Yeah.
Kind of the other noise is eliminated, and you
Yeah.
know that you're just coming to Visco to look at photos and people that are trying to make, photos and,
yeah.
so fast forward,
Yeah.
shoot on the iPhone.
Shot on the iPhone.
Well, let me ask you this: when that happened, were you pursuing photography at that point, or were you going, "Hey, I took a good photo," and then somebody said, "I'll pay you," so you know what, I'll do it, or was like, this
Yeah.
photography thing, where were you at just within photography in general at that time in your life?
So, as a kid, I watched way too many movies, read way too many comics, and because of that influence, photography and videography has always been something I've been interested in. I had a disposable camera as many trips as I could as a kid. So once, we got these pretty good cameras on our iPhones and I was coming out of college and unfortunately didn't make the NBA. I was really excited to take good photos, and it was my goal to be, everyone I go out with, friend wise, like they're like, "Oh, let's get Mason to take the photo." That was my goal. I wanted to be like the go-to iPhone photographer because I had a buddy who's a photographer in college, taught me rule of thirds, and the rest is kind of history. Always wanted to do it. The big holdback and a real big personality flaw of mine is I really am afraid of being bad. And that's been a huge, that's another whole podcast just talking about that in the last 3 years of just learning to be okay with failing, but eventually, I got over that fear and bought my first camera 4 years after that shoot. Golden Pond on Green Springs. Shout out.
Yes, sir.
Bought my first camera. The guy who told me to go there is actually a guy who was shooting in Railroad Park. I used to go there all the time, look for families who were taking pictures of the family on the iPhone and be like, "Hey, you guys want a photo?"
Yeah.
I'm not a professional, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
And this guy came up to me shooting on his Nikon, and he asked to see the stuff I took on my iPhone, and I showed him, and he was like, "Dude, you need to go get a camera."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I don't know, man. Like, my friends have been saying it, He's like, no. Go to Golden Pond Shop on Green Springs. He's got a bunch of clean cameras. I was just in there.
Yeah.
Shooting manual for 6 months. If you still like it after that, then go buy a nice camera. But if you don't like it, then this isn't for you." So I did that, bought a $100 Canon, shot in manual, probably on the smallest JPEG file available because I didn't know any better.
Smaller than the iPhone at that time.
Yeah. For sure.
And then, Black Friday rolled around. I was enjoying manual, so I bought my first camera. 2 years after that, got my first real professional shoot, thanks to Jannard. And 2 years after that, I'm at that point 5 years into an account management job with a software company. It started to make sense that I could do this full time. And a year later, I quit my job. And so now for the last three and a quarter years, been a full-time photographer. Yeah. The last year and a half, been stepping more into a DP role on the video side, getting away from shooting any sort of video and more composing and trying to get on more projects like that. Yeah. So
how have you, has there been overlap? And I'm sure there is, but where do you see the overlap of when you're working and you come onto a set that I don't have to fool with camera stills. I don't have to fool with settings. I'm looking at this compositions. How is that when you come back into your photography work? Has that served you well, or does it even you're in a whole different? Does it even make sense because you're in a whole different setting and you're shooting stills, and so you're not even, or has it been something that seeing the world through the video side, coming back into the photo side, like, has it helped you at all or given you a different perspective in photography?
Yes. On the photography side, I really don't like using any sort of tripod or C-stand with like a baby pin setup. I like to just run and gun, have the camera in my hands. Being a DP on projects has really helped me value consistency and taping down spots and setting up the same frame over and over and over again, especially for like an interview type setup.
Yeah.
And that way you can have consistency throughout your images. And I think that's one area that my photography has lacked, where a lot of my photography, I would say like the hallmark of like 90% of my photos, there's nothing where the blacks are completely crushed and there's nothing where it's completely blown out. That's about 90% of my work. I really want to control all of the light in the photo at all times. But placement and, having it on that exact mark every time, especially when I'm doing a menu shoot or any sort of portrait session where I want the subject to be in the same spot a couple times. I've definitely learned the value of taping down my spots and being consistent in that mark.
So for people listening that are unfamiliar with taping down a spot, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So once we figure out where we're going to have a subject sit for, let's say, an interview for a video, there is usually at least 2 to 3 lights around that person. There's an A cam, a B cam, sometimes a C cam. There's an interviewer. There's a seat for someone shooting BTS, and there's a seat for someone who's supposed to monitor audio and visual. And sometimes it's in a cramped space, so we have to tape down everything, including those seats. And even when it's not in a cramped space, we're taping down the lighting, we're taping down where the chair is for the interviewee and where the chair is for the interviewer. So that way, eyes are on the same spot, lights on the same spot, shadows on the same spot, every single shot.
That's cool, man. I think, like you said, I feel like with something like that, you don't realize the inconsistencies until you see how consistent it can be. And then, because I know, like, for me, sometimes shooting portraits on a work day, it's more run and gun. Years ago, when I would go into post, I would realize, like, my wide shot of each groom or groomsman or bridesmaid and my tight shot of each one of them were not quite, like, it looks way off. Whereas now it's like I focus, I'm estimating, but I'm 3 feet for a waist up. I back up to a full body, and that's repeat. And it's still not to the place of perfection where we have a controlled environment and we're taping stuff down. But it's something that I think you learn even when you're handheld. Like, that consistency does matter when you're looking at the overall picture and you're kind of seeing everything together. Visually, it's more appealing, even though some may think, I wouldn't notice the difference. Well, you wouldn't if we were really consistent, because that's the goal, that you don't notice, those inconsistencies.
You wouldn't notice that you do notice the difference.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's like you don't know until somebody kind of, shows you the other side, and you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
I see now.
When you start, like comparing in a way, or like looking at other people's work, and you realize, like, oh, there's like some level of consistency here, and then you look at your work.
You
like,
probably experience a little bit of that with Estelle stuff, because I feel like y'all do a lot of stuff in front of backdrop, and I'm sure your crop and how much is above their head, and what do you have in front of you, and
it's always and thankfully, like, the way that we've shot the last probably 3 shoots, I think, have all been in the same exact spot. So like I know exactly how much distance I need to get like the full dress in there. So that definitely helps, just getting familiar with the space that you're in. But I've even started to notice like, man, like I could really get more consistent with this. But there's also this fear of, or not fear, but it's like I like to run and gun even when I'm doing studio shoots, just because I like to be far away and then I want to immediately get like a closer portrait, or get you know, I want to go from 10 feet to 3 feet like that. I don't want to have a tripod and then, all right, let me move that closer and let me adjust this. Like I want to, like if I'm in the moment, then I want to go and attack it. So I usually just do everything handheld, but there's this part of me is like, I need to just try it with a tripod, like an entire shoot with it's just locked in the tripod, and see what I can get out of it and see what I like about that, what I don't like about it, because there is something nice about getting that level of consistency. Like even in like your lighting, like if you can get like a consistent lighting setup, then you have, hey, I took 300 photos and the lighting is like perfect for all of them. So I don't have to be like, oh man, like the lighting here wasn't that good, so I got to like bump this up, or I got to, oh, this was way too overblown, I shouldn't have exposed it like that. Like even just having your lighting set up like consistent is super important.
I think the first time you go through, what I could speak more to film than I can digital, but the first time that you go through in a role where, whether it was headshots or something where something in it was consistent, where the person was sitting or everybody needed to be in front of this wall, and you see how you missed or you adjusted, you know, ISO or exposure, or the light changed. And you're going through and you're like, wow, like 5 seconds between this person's portrait and this person, things changed. I didn't adjust.
Right.
Thinking that, oh, it'll be okay. And then in post, you're trying to piece it together and make it make sense. And
Right.
It made me think of something, and I don't know if you have anything off the top of your head that you could speak to this, but have you ever been in a shoot where you went in with maybe one lens, maybe a prime lens, and either it was too wide or too narrow, and you kind of realize in the moment, you know, shit, like I can't back up anymore, and this is the only lens I have. You know,
my first paid interior shoot, I thought 24 was going to be wide enough, and I thought wrong. The first room that we shot, I got some good shots on a 24. I got some good detail shots on the 50. But the shot that the client ended up liking the most, I asked them to, I was like, oh, y'all need to get out. Y'all shadows are in here. I shot on RAW on the iPhone on 0.5 and then edited. And that is actually what got published in the magazine.
There you go. You heard it here first.
My Leica Q2, my Leica SL2 rendered useless to iPhone 0.5.
That's interesting.
That's so
because
funny.
I'm with you. I'm just trying to think of what I would need something interior-wise wider than a 24.
So what I learned from Reed McKendry, one of the best interior photographers I've ever seen, I think he's out of New England, everything medium format interior kind of fixes it for you. So shooting on Fuji's like 20 to 35 on medium format is really like closer to like a 14 on your base, but without all the distortion of 14, you know, handling 20 millimeter compression on a 14 millimeter field of view, way more doable. But that's kind of the workaround with it is if you're going to shoot really tight interiors, medium format is the way to go without getting so much distortion.
Never thought about that.
That's something that I feel like a lot of the normal or full frame sensors are trying to do more and more of.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I feel like it's the same way to me with 35 millimeter and 120. I have seen people with the way they scan and the way they shoot that they can make 35 look better than a lot of people's 35. But then you do the same TLC and same attention to detail on medium format, and again, it blows it out of the water. It's just, it is a thing with those cameras, and there is a difference. There is a quality difference, and it's supposed to be. And that's why the price tag, you know, whether it's justified or not, but that is why the price tag is is there.
Right.
Yeah.
You can just capture more light, and that's what it's about at the end of the day. So,
yep. So do you light when you do interiors? Do you find, are you bringing in a lot of lights? Are you using a lot of lights within the room? How are you managing where you've got lights on in the room, but you may have some hard light coming through a window? Those things, those elements that I've done very little, but the little bit I've done, those were some of the things that I thought, okay, if I'm going to go forward in this, there's got to be more production than I realized that goes into some of these interior stuff. I think some people go, oh, they just this beautifully, naturally lit kitchen.
Yeah.
And, there might be 10 lights set up. There might be 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
There's all kind of stuff. But what would you say, like, is there a standard setup that or is every single one you're going in and customizing, lighting or, reflectors or whatever it may be?
Every setup is different. The best advice that I have been given on shooting interiors is, all right, how do I capture this the way that the designer intended it to be felt? So sometimes that is natural light. Sometimes that is, having a sconce on the wall turned on. And then sometimes it's using the flashlight on your iPhone. Yeah. Because I did that today at an interior shoot. We were capturing the detail of this shower that they just renovated. And the top-down light in the shower, I loved. I thought it was fantastic. Yeah. And one of the girls had a main hand in the brass work. She was like, oh, I don't know, it's just not right. But if we turn it off, it's in this cave of a shower and there's no light. And I'm like, I can't bring a tube light. That'd be too obvious. I can't bring in a 300. That's too much. Yeah. Strobe is overkill. And I was like, turn off all the lights for a second. And I turned on my iPhone flashlight and I held it over here and I had it tethered. So I was like, press the button. She's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. She's like, oh my gosh.
That's incredible.
Love it.
The iPhone again.
Yeah.
This is an iPhone episode.
It is. We're sponsored by Apple. Do you, when you're doing a lot of these kind of shoots with restaurants and stuff like that, do you ever get a chance to do any kind of tech rec or being able to do any kind of test shoot in the space just to know what the light's going to be? Or do you just kind of have to show up with as much gear as you think you're going to need and then kind of just go at it as quick as you can?
Yeah. So most of my test work comes at Rev with Chef Jacob. Yeah. He's been a client of mine for a couple years now. I always bring a setup that I know will work, and then I bring a setup that I want to try. And sometimes we never end up using those photos. Sometimes they never see the light of day. Yeah. Sometimes they work, and then my setup is changed for forever.
Yeah.
That I love that you brought that up because I don't know if that's ever been brought up on the podcast before, but it's something I heard years ago, and I think there's a shift in years ago. I was told just through advice is you do not practice new techniques and new setups on a paid shoot. And so that was just kind of in my head, hey, this client paid me to do this. Well, somewhere along the way, I started thinking for myself, and going, I don't know, they're paying me to do this, but if I can, without hindering the job they've hired me to do, and maybe even in some cases creating something even better than what we all imagined, I should be able to use this moment to learn on the job some new techniques. And so even now, sometimes it's a new camera. Now, if it's a brand new camera, especially film camera, that I'm not even sure if it's, I hope it's 100% operable, but I bought it off eBay and everything seems to be working, functioning on it, seems right. I may not shoot it as a lead camera, but I'm going to run a roll or two through it. To see where we're at with it. But it's interesting because I feel like there was a time where that was taboo, but now I feel like it's almost like I feel like if you're going to do it professionally, you do need to kind of know when that moment is that you can try something. Yeah.
And even if it's like I have started to fiddle and experiment more with flash. As I get more into fashion photography, I realize, okay, I really gotta learn strobe and how it works, just because that's like the standard with fashion photography is using strobe, because you can just shoot it, f8, f6 and get a lot more in focus. But even doing test shoots at my house is one thing. When you even if I feel confident doing it at my house, to then do it on a paid shoot is still, it's still new because I haven't done it before, even though I've been doing it. But now, like, the stakes are for real this time. You know, it changes everything. Yeah.
Where I landed with testing new things on paid shoots is if it's true to who you are as a creative, they hired you as the creative. And then the other thing is like, make sure you have something that will work in case that doesn't.
Yeah.
Like you need to have like what they've hired you for ready to roll. But if they hired you to be creative, you're part of the process.
And sometimes I think like with a recurring client, it helps.
Yes.
Like you've got this rapport with a person. Yeah. And they're okay when you're like, even like maybe sometimes you're going, hey, let's try this. I want to. I've been interested in this technique or this setup. You mind if we give it a try? And they're like, oh no, because they've already built that trust with you, and they know that you know what you're doing, and you've created some beautiful images for them before. But it is I love that aspect of what we're able to do in photography, and especially on jobs, is being able to color outside the lines at shoots, where you are going in and saying, hey, this is what they hired me for, but I'm seeing this room, I'm seeing this light, this model, this wardrobe, whatever, and it's making me think this, or it's pulling this out of me. Yeah. Which I think is so fun. Yeah. You show up to each shoot, and there's certain things I do think that you're anticipating or that are going to be routine. Yeah. But then there's so much that is brand new, like that you couldn't, even imagine was going to happen. Yeah. Just
right. Like I always say, like, there's this idea of just in work in general, like, you work 80%, like you plan for the 80%, but then you always plan for the 20% that you don't know. Like it's an unknown factor, right? Like you can always know 80% of something, but there's always going to be the 20% of maybe the light changes if you're shooting outside with natural daylight. Or what I always like to do is leave that 20% for, like, if I have an idea of like a shot in my head, or if I have an idea for a pose in my head, like that's the 80%, right? But then say the model turns their cheek a different way that I didn't expect them to, and I love it. It's like, okay, that 20% was better than my 80%, and sometimes that 20% is the majority of what I end up liking anyways, So
I think even in the abstract, there's something that the abstract really becomes something as you go. You're having something in your head that you're putting onto the canvas, but this little nuance stroke caused you to go, let me, and it's, so I do think in photography, there is maybe that 20% could be, part of that could be labeled as the abstract. Like you're saying there, right. Especially when you're working with models that I've worked from models that you have to tell them every single thing. Yeah. Because they're not really models. They Mason the chicken that you were holding was the problem. And then work with models that you don't have to say anything to, right? I mean, they just they almost are pulling things out of you. Yeah. And so I think that there is something when you're working with a model that has at least some of that, to where they're now being creative and going, you told me to do this. Now their 20% abstracts coming in. Yeah. Well, what if I bring my hand here? And in all the moments that it doesn't work, when you find that one that it does, that ends up being the photo that, whether it's the abstract of putting a phone, flashlight for there, but it worked, and it was like, that's exactly what it needed. Right. I mean, that's just I think those are the things that we wish there was more of. Sometimes it's not as much of that, but when it is, it's really fun, I think.
Those are kind of the moments you live for in a way. Like you had to do all the boilerplate of, like, we have to get the back of this dress. Like, we can't even see a face here, but we have to get this detail work. But then we get to do the fun stuff of, let's see what we can do with this light, or let's see what we can do with this pose, or let's see what we can do with this, that, or the other. And there's like this level of like, I've gotten such a incredible opportunity just the last couple of years to like work with models that are like that, like on a consistent basis. And they're like, is this level of trust that gets built that then it's like, they know what I'm going to bring and I know what they're going to bring. And you just like, you almost don't even have to say anything. You just start working in tandem, and it's like, you just know what the other person's going to do in a way. And it's like, I don't know, man, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of like entering like a flow state. Sometimes you kind of get out. I was like, did we really just do that? Like, what just happened? But
sometimes and we've even experienced that on the podcast. Sometimes in some of the best shoots I've been a part of, it may be an hour and a half into the shoot before you're like, oh, I felt the release. Like everybody's now used to each other. They're comfortable. They're being a little bit more vulnerable or whatever it may be. And it's like, I don't look at everything we did previously as a waste.
Right.
It was the building blocks to get us now, even though we may not use any of these photos before. Because everybody was a little nervous and a little tight. We needed that. It was essential to get us to where we are now. And now this is the shoot. This is the real, we're in it now.
That's why, like, with a lot of the fashion shoots I do, I'm starting to be more, like, Estelle knows it now because this is just what we've talked about. But I had a shoot on Saturday with a girl that I've shot with before, but it wasn't for her business. But this time it was. And without implicitly saying it, I kind of was just like, hey, this really cool dress that you have, let's save that one for last. Because I got a spot in mind that's for last. So that at the end of this 2-hour shoot, we're warmed up, we're feeling good, the light's going to be perfect, and we're going to be so juiced up that when we do the best piece that you have, we're going to be in the best frame for it. So then you get this dress, and like, you always kind of just save the best for last. Like, do the pieces that you need to get and are still gorgeous or beautiful or whatever. But save the best for last is a tactic that I've learned that's super, super helpful. Because exactly what you're saying, like you said, it could take an hour and a half, could take 2 hours, it could take 30 minutes. It could be quick, but sometimes it just takes time.
Yep.
Yeah. But
you mind if we take a quick break and then come back?
Yeah, and then we'll introduce Mason.
That's right.
Yes, sir. And we'll be right back. Hey guys, it's Blake. If you're a photographer, videographer, podcaster, or content creator looking for the perfect spot to bring your ideas to life, you need to check out Studio Lucid. It's a versatile studio space located in the heart of downtown Birmingham between Morris Avenue and First Avenue North. Whether you're shooting a brand campaign, your next podcast episode, or just working on something unique, this space has everything that you need. Anyone can split and share the cost. Don't miss out. Book your session at Studio Lucid today. Now, back to the episode. And we're back. And before we get too far into it, let's welcome everybody to the BM Film Walk podcast. I feel this like pressure tonight, or not pressure, more just like jitters almost, because this is the first ever recorded, like video recorded podcast we've ever done. I don't know if Mason knew that going into tonight. So
no, we try to keep as many secrets from the guests as possible, so they're just walking into to it blindly.
Your secrets are safe with me.
Thank you, buddy. But yeah, welcome everybody to episode 42 of the Be Him Film Walk podcast. We have the one and only Mason David Erwin here with us tonight. Yeah, man. Just thanks for coming on. This is such a blessing to have you here, dude. I feel like we've had some great half hour in. We've always had some good conversations, so I'm excited I totally just blanked too. I felt it. I don't think I've never blanked when someone's taking my picture, but I felt my eyes closed like almost instinctively. But yeah, so this is great.
I feel very blessed to be here.
Good.
One of the first photographers I met in Birmingham.
There we go.
One of the first film photographers I started following, and I was like, thanks, maybe I need to look at this film stuff.
That's awesome.
That's kind of a great segue, because one of the questions that we had just between me and Noah just on our show notes was like, what is like your relationship to film like as of right now? I know you mostly shoot digital, but I know there's a little bit of film going on with you know, your project with like Texas A&M basketball.
Yeah.
Can you just speak on that, but also just in a broader sense, just what is your relationship to film photography in your work or in your personal life and everything in between?
unfortunately, film, that has a relationship that is heavily tied to money.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So
I think everyone.
so right now, me and Film are on a break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the booty call. It's
She's
the
needy.
1 a.m.
She's needy.
She is.
She's needy.
She is.
I would have told you guys the whole night. I love my Leica Q2.
Yeah.
I initially really made a push for film in the last year and a half to shoot more of my personal stuff, family stuff, friend stuff.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't justify the cost. So I did lean into getting hired for professional film work. And I got a couple jobs here and there, mostly basketball related, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I am a child of the 90s. I love watching the Last Dance documentary. I love watching 90s basketball and the smoke-filled arenas and the haze.
Yeah.
And you get a little of that magic shooting basketball on film. So hopefully I can pick that up again next season. But for now,
Did you have a connection with Texas A&M?
the coaching staff mostly came from Samford.
Okay.
And after I played, the new coaching staff that came in got me to start shooting Samford basketball digitally in 2019 to 2020 and 2021. And then when Bucky came in from Mountain Brook, his director of basketball operations, Warren Fitzpatrick, a fraternity brother of mine, but like way down the line, loved my photography, loved my basketball work. And I told him, hey, I can do basketball and film. I can make it work. That Contax G1 works miracles.
Yes, sir.
And once they made it over to A&M, he's like, hey, when we come to Tuscaloosa, when we come to Auburn, when we come to Nashville, we'll get you out there.
Wow.
You didn't do Georgia, did you? Because that's not a far drive, honestly.
I didn't do Georgia. My sister is in high school right now, so I still try to make her volleyball games.
Yeah.
And she had a tournament that weekend, so I didn't make it out there for that.
Gotcha.
I shoot her stuff digitally.
Nice.
So.
That's cool.
So give us a little. I feel like because we have so many genres of photographers that have been on the show, and one being music photographers. We've had a few that have either been on the podcast or involved in the film walk community, and so I think I know for myself, gotten a little bit more familiar with what it actually looks like to shoot a show, and 3 songs, and then it's this and this and that, and where you can and can't be, and that kind of stuff. Can you give us a little insight for those that are either maybe desiring to look into sports photography, maybe basketball in specifically? What does that look like when you show up to a game? Are you checking in, or where do you go? Courtside, can you just roam about however you want? What are they expecting out of you, or is it just, hey, just shoot and give us whatever you get? Like, kind of walk us through that a little bit of what you're doing on the court for a team in that scenario.
So when shooting sports, it is heavily dependent upon who are you shooting for. So with Texas A&M specifically, I am hired by the coaching staff. I'm not hired by the media department. So I get my credentials just before the team shows up, and then I walk in with the team. And then when you're talking about under the hoop on the baseline, you have taped off spots for A&M Media 1, A&M Media 2. Those are the 2 main guys. And then whatever's untaped, I can claim. It's first come, first serve at most basketball courts.
That's cool.
And then you have your local media guys. And now you have NIL agencies that have their own people going and shooting these events.
Yeah.
So once you get your media pass, like, I always coordinate with the person who's handing it to me, like, hey, where can I not go with this?
Smart. Yeah.
And then after that, it's just easier, just kind of get free reign. And then if I get told not to go up there again, I don't go up there again.
Do you find yourself wanting to be down there on the court, like baseline, or have you found some other little, I wouldn't say secrets, but just some other little spots as you've been there that you're like, oh, I kind of like this angle. I didn't realize,
my role as a basketball photographer is a lot like my role as a basketball player, figuring out what my role is. You know, not necessarily what I want to do. Everyone wants to shoot.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to shoot all the time on the court. My job was to rebound and block shots and hustle.
Yeah.
So everyone wants that money shot of the dunk. Everyone wants that, you know, in your face shot. They've got two media guys there who are shooting digitally and shooting 120 frames per second on the Sony A9 III. Like, my job is to get something that they're not.
Yeah.
So I find myself baseline closer to the corner because I love getting that wide corner 3 shot where you're getting the elevation of the player, the arch of the 3, and I can get the bench reaction over here. With how big media is today in terms of, you know, you can go watch any college basketball game that's D1 and that is being played.
Yeah.
You can find a service that streams it. Bench players are aware that they're on a camera at all times, and the reactions you get are sometimes better than the reactions on the court. So I like to highlight those because sometimes those players don't play. Sometimes that's their moment, and they love getting those photos, and the coaches do too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Do you find yourself, and I don't know if this would translate to any and all sports. I know Will shoots some motocross, has shot some cars in different things, but do you find yourself sticking with a horizontal image, or are you mixing it up? Or I know nowadays for so many people shooting for people's Instagram, vertical is king on social media, it seems like. So has that changed? Like when you go in, like you know, I do this wide shot, but golly, I mean, we're going to use this for Instagram and it seems to do better vertical. Like, is that factoring in as you're moving about, you know, shooting?
Most of my landscape or horizontal shots are going to be shot on 35 millimeter or wider. I always think of that establishing shot that Nolan does in every movie, the over the shoulder. You can picture it in The Dark Knight right now, Joker hanging his mask on the chute. You can picture it in Dunkirk. There's all these visuals of that over the shoulder wide shot. That's what I go for in basketball with the 28 to 35 range. It's what I go for in volleyball with my sister's games is when she's getting up to serve, like, can I position these lights over her and create this like really dramatic look? But then once I get to those telephoto shots, that's where I would love to shoot everything horizontally. And this is a great question, is at what point does the audience come into consideration and what the audience wants? And my audience wants vertical for Instagram. So when I get those telephoto shots where it's going to be really detailed of the players, I try to do them a favor and just shoot it in portrait, even though I love movies and I love the aspect ratio of the wide. I do lean into what do they want.
Maybe going back to like that we talked about, especially with some of the digital stuff, and I'm sure there's a place for it in film, but you're shooting at a high enough resolution that maybe you can take that landscape shot and pick out a portrait within that, or, you know, frame it up, you know, for I guess social media friendly, content friendly, you know, stuff. So, or
you can get like 5 portraits out of it with that 100 megapixel medium format.
Is there? So I don't know of any. I think I follow one sports photography page that just posts photographers that are still shooting film at events. But are you following any photographers that are shooting sports on medium format? Because everything that I know about medium format digital, it was not created for sports as far as the action.
It's very slow.
The speed.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I would just imagine surely there's somebody out there that's,
I'm trying to remember if he does medium format, but Max Molina, the photographer for the 76ers, we got connected on Instagram. I went and shot Samford versus Georgetown in DC. Mac McClung was playing for Georgetown, so everyone showed up for that.
Right.
And any NBA photographer that I follow or communicate with, I met at that game. And Max is one of those guys that I got connected with through there.
That's cool.
And he does mostly digital. I mean, he's one of their main photographers, but he does a lot of film. And I want to say he's done medium format for a couple games, especially the Sixers have been leaning into retro night. So they'll bring out the AI like black Sixers jerseys.
Those are classic.
And he'll shoot a lot of film on that. So Max Molina.
That's cool, man.
That's cool. I remember you had said, we had talked about it months ago when, basketball season was still going on, that you wished that they made like a color 3200 ISO film, because they had that back in the day.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to get Tim on the podcast and see if we can ever make
So
that
what's
dream
up
a
with that?
reality,
I wonder if it would be like all the 3200 black and white, where it's really probably 1600.
Yeah.
Or
right,
1000.
Right. Yeah.
But either way,
Yeah.
it would be very interesting. I mean, I've seen some people push Portra 400 way up there.
Wow.
And Jonathan Canlis is one that has experimented with it, and that was, I refer to him a decent amount just because for probably 3 years I used that lab exclusively, and so I was very interested in when they were putting out tips and tricks on, and he's one of the, I wouldn't say few, because I don't know a ton of people. I know the film labs that I use, but he is a film lab owner that is still very actively shooting, and he's a professional photographer.
Yeah.
And he's secondarily a film lab owner. Yeah. I don't look at him as that's the film lab owner.
And he
also
just happens to
shoots.
shoot. Yeah.
He's a photographer that owns a film lab. So what I loved about his stuff was that he was always pushing new film stocks. He was always, he did a little series of photos that I don't know if he started out trying to test this film, but I think it ended up being a little series of photos where he was shooting Portra 400 like 5 or 6 stops over in bright sunlight, and it was just dreamy. I mean, nothing was blown out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's where, shout out to Jason McKinney, because I know he's not a Portra 400 lover. But that's where.
Or any film that's not expired, I feel like.
Yeah, that's where my interest in Portra 400 came from. Was going, I'm in situations where a lot of the times I maybe do have time to meter, but I'm in a lot of situations where I don't, and I need to run and gun, and I know that 35 and especially 120, I can be over or under to this degree, and I'm going to be not just a usable air quotes photo, but a really good exposed photo when it gets developed. And so that's where I'm like, I've tried other films and I experiment at film walks and different things like that. But in professional work, that's the film stock that is going to give me the best opportunity to succeed, on this job. Right. And I'm going to be able to do different things with it. Yeah. You can make it look a little punchier. You can, make it look a little less contrasty and a little bit more airy if you wanted to. But, I don't know. It's just, it's so cool to me to see people in these professions that, it, in some ways you're going, are there people still but when I think about every sports image that was captured probably pre 97, 98, 99 was shot on film. Yeah. And it's used in movies, it's used in documentaries, and there's these brilliant photos. Yeah. One of the most iconic photos of that overhead shot of the Ali fight. The guy laying just on the mat. I'm like, shot on film from the rafters.
Right.
Also, not shot on a 70-200 like every sports photo.
Not shot on a 300.
Yeah.
But I just think that's so cool to think like it's only up until around 2000 that we have things exclusively shot on digital. But yet it seems so far out to think that people were shooting NASCAR or tennis or whatever other fast-paced basketball, football on film.
Yeah.
Like, just fascinates me when I think about it in those terms.
Right.
You know, just it's fascinating.
Oh yeah. Do you feel like is kind of a hard segue? What do you feel like you're, not to put you in a box of any kind, but or have you put yourself in a box? Is there a genre of photography that you gravitate towards? Like, I know that you do a lot of work with restaurants and you know, the service industry in general, and your work is so like iconic with that. Like, I'm able to like, you're one of those photographers. I would put you in the same category as like Mary, especially like local photographers, where you see their work and you're like, oh, that's a Mason shot. Like, I know I can pick that out of a lineup almost, because it is just so iconic. But do you feel like there like is a genre of photography that you're most like passionate about, or you're kind of just like, I'll shoot anything really, I just happen to be doing this the most?
I've been thinking about that a lot. You know, when I tell people what I do for work, I would say, you know, 50% of my work is hospitality and the other 50% is just random commercial work that comes my way and fits my creativity. But what I gravitate towards the most in the photos that like I see the client or a friend or a family member look at and give me like the reaction of like, okay, like this made them feel something, is what I would describe as life as it happens. You know, it's not always a candid moment, because sometimes I do direct them to go back and be like, hey, do that again. No, you're doing it wrong. Do it again. No, do it again. But really, like, and that's the way I do my family photos is I'm like, hey, like, let's just get ready like it's a normal day. They're just getting dressed up a little nicer. You know, one of my favorite family photos I did is this kid coming around the corner, still brushing their teeth, and like, you know, they're yay high. So like I get down there and get it. And, you know, just life as it happens. My most recent trip to Japan, oh man, I've never been able to pick out like, oh, that's my favorite photo I've ever taken. Until I went to Japan. And I know everyone says that. It's cliche, but they're not wrong. There's so many things that happen over there. And they're so used to it. No one was rude. Everyone was so nice. And everyone knew enough of English for us to communicate. And I knew enough of Japanese to get by. But all of my favorite photos were just things that were happening over there. And I captured it from my point of view. So I would say I would gravitate towards just capturing life as it happens. The goal is to make everything look like a movie. So if I can, you know, my favorite movie is The Prestige.
Yes, sir.
And the whole battle back and forth is you've got, outside of them both being, you know, not so great people. Outside
Two
of
villains.
Outside of that, and I'll come back to that point if we ever want to talk about movies. We try to look for too many perfect things in movies. These are just two flawed individuals. And I think everyone likes to put down movies like that. I've seen a lot of discourse putting down Whiplash. Yes, both of them are very flawed people, and they're not so great people. Probably wouldn't want to be friends with Fletcher or Neiman, honestly. Neiman's going to choose everything, drumming over everything. But I think everyone likes to feel good about themselves when they go look at these movies, when they go look at art. And I just look at two very flawed individuals. What lesson can we learn here? Back to it. Hugh Jackman. He's got this fascination with just making everyone in awe of something that should look ordinary, but he makes extraordinary. And then you've got Christian Bale's character of just trying to find a way of escape from this very crude life. I mean, he was in British in the late 1800s and early 1900s, wasn't in a great economy over there, didn't come from a great social class. So like he needed this escape, and he happened to be really good at amazing people. And that has always inspired me. Like, how can I make things look extraordinary that would otherwise be ordinary? How can I amaze people? You know, and sometimes that's just capturing the normal and making it look, you know, something different.
That's awesome.
That is, I think there's so much of that in every photography genre, because to that point, especially in the modern age with social media and the market is so saturated. Everything's so saturated. How do I find a voice? How do I find something different? I don't think it's finding something different. It's doing something different with what everybody else is already seeing. Like to your point. And so I do think, because I choose to believe that every single individual has a degree of uniqueness. There may be things that are very similar. There may be things that we maybe even look alike. We sound alike. We come from the same neighborhood, but there's something in me that's unique to me. And if you're in the creative world, how do you, if you can find that way, and I don't know if everybody ever finds it. Not everybody finds it, but if you find that way that you're going, I've connected my uniqueness with my creativeness, and now I'm seeing what you're seeing, but I'm showing you, it's like, to me, I think about it like with tasting things. How do we know that we're all tasting the same thing, right? Yeah. I mean, I think the taco's good and you think the taco's good, but are you tasting it the way I'm tasting it? I don't know. We just both know it's a good taco.
Right.
And so I think it's the same with visual, but if I can find a way to show you through my images, this is how I saw it. And you're like, oh, I see now. That is unique to I think the vision and the sight and the seeing part of the human experience is when we get lucky sometimes it comes by way of experience and being good at what you're doing. And sometimes it's sheer just being in the right place at the right time. But when you can connect those things, you create that image where, I think I like going back to something that's so monumental recently, and this is in no way a political podcast, but the shot of Trump, getting shot through the. I mean, when you look at what was going on, there was a ton of photographers, people, but the one shot that stood out to everybody and went viral, and for good reason, was this guy's perspective, this photographer's perspective. That you're like, wow, like that is, you're seeing the gravity of the moment, you're seeing the intensity of the moment, and it's at an angle that was just right. It was the timing, and everything came together for that one shot. And I think if you can take that into everyday life, I used to think that it was the important photos were the celebrities or the politicians or those things. And then you go, as you grow in it, you realize, man, I can take something that maybe is not important to the masses, but to this family, that shot of the kid with the toothbrush running around the corner. That's the greatest photo that they may ever see of, their family. Like that's one they'll remember their entire lives. So that is so, it's powerful. It's weighty. I think when you start to venture down those roads of, photographing real life, it gets a little heavier. Not that we're curing cancer, but you are like, sometimes you're taking the last photo of a person.
I mean, we've all been blessed with the opportunity to capture things, but we also have been given the task of, memorializing memories for people, and it's a great blessing to have, but at the same time, it's also like, I better get this right.
Yep. I don't want to have a P5 filter on this.
I don't know. P5 still slaps.
Updated P5.
I might. It's not. No, I was messing around with it the other day on a Raw, and I was like, oh my gosh,
this is not bad.
I shot my first wedding last week, and it was like the best.
Let's go.
Like first wedding to shoot, because it was like a very small ceremony, like literally just the like immediate family. It was for Estelle, and so there's already like a repertoire with her and her now husband. He's come to a few of our shoots and modeled, and their family was just so like gracious and kind. And I even texted you that night. I was like, man, I respect you and Rachel for what y'all do, but after doing a wedding, I was like, I have a newfound respect, because when you're working with a model, you can be extremely blunt in a kind way, right?
Yeah.
Like not mean, but you can just say,
but
like,
we're there for a specific purpose,
right?
And
right.
you know it, and I know it,
and you realize, like, I don't know anybody's name. I don't know anybody's like.
Hey, dude.
I don't know
I don't know
anyone's
the groom's name.
I thankfully I knew his name, but like I don't know anyone's name. I don't know the familial like relationship. So when you're doing family portraits, like, hey, should these people stand together? It's like, no, those people should not stand together. And I was like, okay, that's all you needed to say, you know.
We do not let them in the room together.
Right.
That's when I like to crack the joke. Be like, all right, they can't be in a photo. Go kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there, you know, I took a very quick portrait of Estelle's grandfather that we were talking about before the pod, and it's out of focus. I ended up just throwing it in black and white because it's out of focus.
When in doubt, black and white.
Black and white.
Yeah.
But it was just this amazing. Like he had a beer in hand. The ceremony was over. People were just talking, looking at the ring, like crying, and he was just leaning up against like a door frame. I was like, this is awesome. Like, and it doesn't matter that he's the grandfather. It could be, you know, her younger brother. Like, not to get morbid, but like, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. But especially when you're, you know, dealing with family, you know, older family members, like you just never know what could happen. You know, their chances or the you know, any kind of health thing could happen when you're at that age. And I just got this beautiful portrait of him, like kind of just basking in the moment, and it was just like, man, like. I want to print this photo and put it in my house. Like it was just this beautiful image of this guy, like looking at his family. You don't even see what he's looking at, but you can just tell like he's just taking it all in. And it was just, I don't know. I remember during the ceremony, I'm taking pictures and I had to kind of like take a moment and be like, this is such an honor to, I think that's what made me like want to text you guys, is just like, there's something so beautiful about, you know, a wedding is such a great place to feel this. I think you can feel it in anything with related to photography, especially like you said, you know, memorializing memories. But it was just such an honor to like capture these people's day that, you know, they're going to have this for the rest of their life, you know, and you and Rachel get to do that week in and week out. And it's just like, I almost want to ask, like, does that, not just put you on the spot, but do you ever get tired of that feeling, or is it like, man, this is awesome, you know?
No. And I will say it's twofold. For one, I never get tired of it ever. Like it is incredible. Yeah. And two, film has a lot to do with that. There were times when early on, so we started film. We briefly went to digital for the cost effectiveness, and realized we couldn't keep our sanity shooting only digital. Went back to a hybrid approach, then went back to 100% film, and then now we've settled on like a 90-10. Yeah. And it's film that's kept that, because I'm capturing it without looking at a screen. I'm engaged in it. There's been countless work days where I find tears in my eyes. I'm connecting to the story. Yeah. Because I'm not connected to my gear. I mean, I am, but it's at a place now where I know what it's doing. I know what my setup is. I know where I'm at with my gear. So I'm connecting here. Yeah. And it is. And I think you can find that in other genres, in different genres, because I believe that us as humans, we know how to find the importance in everyday things. You can take somebody is a cook and somebody's a chef. And it doesn't necessarily mean that one went to school for it and one didn't. Yeah. It means somebody looks at this as art, as a story, as a passion. And somebody's like, it's a paycheck, you know? Right. And so I think that we can find it in so many areas of life. But yet it hasn't gotten old, and I think that is the first job, and it's hard for me to classify it as a job. I'm sure, as you understand, working professionally in it, but it's the first job I've ever had. First ever job being working at Subway when I was 15 years old. Yeah. Through 20 different type of job careers, trying to figure out what made sense in life. It's the first job I've ever had that I didn't want to do anything else. You know, I just. And even when I think about doing stuff in fashion, it's never wanted to do fashion work as I just want to promote this handbag. And try to help the sales of this handbag. Although that's a lot of times what a shoot's for is to help promote a product or whatever. But it's, can I somehow capture the essence of, because a designer, especially stuff that's handmade, especially stuff that's got thought. I mean, these people, they are just as passionate about designing that shirt, that handbag, that hat, as you are about shooting the mother of the groom and her reaction to her son and him going down the aisle.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, how do we bring that into fashion to where, is there something, what did the designer want this brass to look like? You know, they see it in their head. And when you're working with somebody that really looks at it as an art, on a wedding day, you've got people like florals and cakes and stuff. And for some, maybe it's just a paycheck again, but the ones that it means something, you're going, how did you want these florals photographed? Like, how did you see this? What's the best angle of this cake that you feel like, you know, I put thought into everything, but this one. So that is something for people that are shooting weddings. Like if I'm ever connecting with a florist or a cake artist or anybody, even a planner sometimes, I'll say, is there a vignette that you say, this is what the design, this little section here? Because sometimes you shoot the whole room and not realize that their favorite tablescape and their favorite was that there. They felt like that table came together just right. Everything looks great, but that was my favorite. And if you miss that, you know, it's still going to be great, but if you can capture it, just by asking the simple question of, you know, is there a spot in here that you're really drawn to? And let me go do my thing. You know, so no, I'm glad you got to experience it, and I've got to experience it in some commercial work before. I'm sure you have too, Mason. Where we shot years ago. We shot kind of a BTS at Cafe DuPont when Chris DuPont owned it. And we were shooting their cocktails, their new cocktail menu, and some new plates, and just kind of normal stuff. And I threw out at Chris, or me or Rachel did one, and was like, "Hey, what if we came in next time? We shoot the kitchen in black and white film, like them firing dishes." Because when we would do those shoots, the kitchen's in full effect because they're making the dishes as they would on a Friday, Saturday night. And so we went in, man, and we shot some Tri-X and some HP5, and just, man, I look at some of those images even now. The servers are in their attire that they'd wear when the restaurant was open, and I'm like, this captures the feel. We capture the cocktails to sell them, but this captures what DuPont is, the essence of this restaurant and what the food means to them. And, you know, it's not just some guy back here throwing, you know, a scoop of potatoes on a plate. You know, it is a big deal. And I was like, man, I could do this every week. This is, you know, I know you've experienced, you know, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because you do a lot more food than I do.
Well, what you just talked about is like, I can see the pictures in my head, because my favorite food photographer has also thankfully become a friend of mine over the years, thanks to Indie Film Labs.
Shout out, Josh.
He is a food photographer and really just surf photographer, lifestyle photographer. He's an artist. He paints too. He directs. Jim Sullivan on Instagram as Medium Raw is out in California, comes to Alabama every now and then to visit Indy, get his film done, and, you know, try the food scene here. But that was the first time I came across a food photographer when I was in my early days of shooting food. Because I funny story, when I first started to get professional work, I never wanted to be a food photographer. I had this image of what they were, and it was a lot of being told, like, I don't know, I can just see someone standing on a ladder shooting down at a shot, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that has its place. Like, there are certain photographers that do that, and I love their work. I just like kind of being solo in those shots, and I know that requires a whole team. That requires a prop stylist, a food stylist, a set designer, an art director, a lighting specialist, and then you, the photographer, come in and shoot what they've put together for you. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. there was a chef who gave me a shot, and he pretty much just said, shoot what you want. And then he started paying me to do stuff, and now I'm like, oh man, I'm a fraud. Like, I need to figure some stuff out. So I start looking up other food photographers. I find Jim Sullivan, and the first photo I see of his is the most blurry shot of a line cook moving through a kitchen in some really green, bluish, Cine Still 800T. And I'm like, man, I can feel that restaurant. And you just go through his work, and it's all incredible. But he really does a great job of capturing the essence of a restaurant, and also, teaching others to do so as well. So I've been really inspired by a lot of his work, and what you said just kind of lines up with it. Yes, we do need to get crisp shots of the art. That is the dish on the plate as the chef has prepared it. But to really capture the soul of a restaurant is to capture the people behind it in the kitchen and putting in the blood, sweat, and tears. And thankfully, the Bear has provided a next level of appreciation for that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think that's a great observation of that. It wasn't just it's not just a great show on TV, but it's, I think, and here's the thing, just like not every photographer is doing it that way, not every restaurant is putting that much soul into it. Again, it's a paycheck, it's a franchise, it's a whatever. Has its place in this world. But the ones that are doing it, I remember we went on a farm visit with Chris, the farms where he would get his carrots and get the strawberries and the tomatoes they would use, and we photographed him, talk to the farmers. And that was just another layer of, here's your chef that is usually in there with his hands in a pan and checking temperatures on steaks. Well, here's him pulling a tomato off the vine and making sure that his farmers are where they need to be, and what product he's going to be getting, when he's going to get it. And the farmers, that was another layer, how the tender love and care they took of the property and the land. And, we're not just throwing seed in the ground. This feeds our family, and we're glad to have our tomatoes in your restaurant. It is really, the ecosystem is really cool, and to see people that are as passionate about whatever their gift, art, what that is as you are, and, photographing it. But look, I'd love to segue here into a few questions.
None from Harrison, please.
Harrison, if you're listening.
All from Harrison.
We had a few come in, and I will stick to the ones that I feel like are more relevant, obviously. But
I appreciate that.
Not the one that's just simply, what is it like being 8 feet tall? It doesn't connect.
Please tell me that came from one of his nephews or nieces.
That was from Harrison. And I'll keep the names going forward anonymous, just for future references. But one person asked, what's your inspiration lately, and what's your dream photo shoot?
That's a good question.
Oh, man. I do think dream.
Like
a
haunting or
ghoul
something?
in here?
There's a ghoul in the studio.
That was wild.
that was great. The haunting of
the lights
Morris.
going out.
That's awesome.
The fire escape's right there.
Yeah.
Oh man, dream photo shoot. I've thought about this a lot. Man,
and I would say currently, because as photographers and creatives, we know that dream photo shoots change as you change. But
For sure.
I don't know. I'll always want to take pictures of Brad Pitt.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
I think to be really specific. Man, yeah. I mean, I don't see it changing from Brad Pitt anytime soon. I'd love to have someone like that dressed up and kind of following them around the streets of the Shinjuku district in Tokyo. After that last trip, Shinjuku, Shibuya, all of it, everyone's dressed so nice, and shooting on that 28 millimeter, these city blocks are so close to each other. There's just so much you can do with the composition, and you don't really have to get creative with it. You put them in the center, rule of thirds, line across their eyes, and like you're going to get a great image everywhere that you go down there. So yeah, I would say dream photo shoot would just be follow a celebrity around Tokyo and capture life as it happens for them. Biggest inspiration right now, I mean, I already mentioned Jim Sullivan. Like, he's always going to be someone that I look to. I would say currently is a guy named M. Blake Pope on Instagram. I don't know his actual name, but that's just his Instagram handle. I've shot a lot of food where I try to stay true to color, and it's kind of me, but it's kind of not me. Like, I love funky colors. Like, I think being a child of the 90s and watching a lot of those movies in the 90s, there's a lot of experimental stuff. Like, how punchy can we get? How like overly orange can we get? I feel like that was a little bit overdone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can I incorporate that in my food photography? Because I do like to push the limits of like, all right, that looks cool in person, but how can we make it look cooler? And Blake Pope on Instagram really opened my eyes to like, all right, we don't have to make everything look true to color and it not look great. And also not get hired. Like, he gets hired to do commercial stuff pretty regularly, and he, man, fantastic colors in the camera. And also just post-processing, he's fantastic. Outside of that, music will always play an inspiration in my creative process. I listen to anything and everything. Like, I'm telling you, on my Spotify top 100, I had a couple French pop songs on there, some French rap from the 90s, and then I'll do my heavy metal screamo because we got Furnace Fest every year, and I like to get in the mosh pit for that. And then
Do you shoot Furnace Fest?
If I see you getting into a mosh pit, that's when I'm leaving a mosh pit.
Yeah.
so what's funny is every time I get in there, like, there's someone who just like sees me and they're like, "You're mine." They just come right at me. I'm like, "Oh no, dude, please don't, please. I don't want to hurt you." But right now, my like go to, like, I mean, if my favorite shoots are the ones where like I know I can put a headphone in or have a speaker on and I can have music to keep, the process going and keep, some level of comfortability, maybe create some rhythm with the client. Or if it's me shooting inanimate objects like food or interiors, like I just need music on to kind of keep my feet moving. So right now, lots of,
Music and
country.
yeah.
Storytelling country, like old school Marty Robbins. All of his songs sound like a John Wayne Western.
Yeah, that's cool.
Good stories being
I
told.
love old country.
Oh yeah, shout out Shenandoah, dude.
Yeah.
Shenandoah. Jeez. Okay, next up. This is so a shoot. I'm trying to word this differently than it's written, piecing it together. A shoot lately that's been the most challenging or has pulled the most creativity out of you or brought you out of a comfort zone.
Let me think here. Oh man. It is so tough because life has just been like rapid fire since January 19th. Man, I probably have 100 new galleries in Pixie Set since then. Okay. Most of the food that I shoot is styled by the chef. It's usually tasting menu or something fairly fancy. A couple shoots I've done lately have been more of your fast casual types, and there's no food stylist there. Now, the chef or the owner usually knows what they want and they're going to help and they're going to do stuff. But it's kind of, and this can segue into something else if we have time, but basically they have this idea in their head of how they're going to style it and what they think it's going to come out to be. And it just doesn't come out that way. And I have to put a hand in there, even though I'm not a food stylist. I do think I've learned a lot over the years just from like watching or observing some of the best on Instagram. I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but Kate Benzel. I know some of her work is fantastic. Mary Fair does a lot of great work. And so looking at a lot of these other photographers, like sometimes like in the moment, if the chef or owner of the restaurant's not styling it like in a great way, like I'll just throw in something that I've seen before and be like, all right, how's this going to look? Yeah. So I would say, you know, some of the restaurants that aren't on the higher end that I've been shooting recently have provided that challenge of like, all right, Mason, got to put on the food stylist hat, even though you don't really do that.
I can see that though. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I think I know there's times where either you're working with a planner that is being pulled 1,000 different directions, or in the cases where we've worked with a planner that is a little bit newer, and all of a sudden you may have to put on the planning hat, you know, in a moment, or you know, whatever. So yeah, but I think it's a skill that even though hopefully you don't have to always be doing that, I guess it's definitely helpful to be able to see things like that, you know.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. Another one is Phoebe Hauser. Like I see a lot of her styling work, and eventually I'll have a budget to have her on a shoot with me. But
just start putting her in the quotes.
Yeah.
All right, let's look here. A lot of these were very on the similar line of like, you know, dream shoot and stuff like that. So let's go with this, because you do shoot a Leica.
Oh no!
Describe the look of Leica without using micro contrast.
Well, should I define micro contrast for this?
For those that don't know.
Oh man. So that's something that I've gone back to over and over and over again. I really love the color science of Fuji. The glass just doesn't render the same way Leica does. There's a reason doctors get excited when they see a Leica microscope. There's a reason hunters get excited when they can get a Leica scope on their gun. There's a reason for all of that. Leica makes the best glass, and even on video sets, like the amount of friends who really gravitate towards the Leica R glass, it's just really great stuff. So as far as describing the look, oh man, I would say it does a really good job of I keep coming back to micro contrast. There's really no way around it. Okay, I would say so. Your latest Sony full frame, your latest Canon full frame, Nikon full frame, and Fuji doesn't have full frame, so they don't count. They are all now 14-bit color depth. I would say like 2 generations ago, which is what I was shooting on Sony, was A7 III, you're looking at 12-bit color depth. So you're looking at the difference between millions of colors and hundreds of millions of colors. Now, when you move into medium format digital, so your Hasselblad X2D and your Fujifilm GFX 102, you're looking at 16-bit color depth, which is like closer to billions of colors that you're getting on the screen. I would say Leica glass, even though the SL, SL2, and SL3 and all the S models and the Q models and the M models are all still at 14-bit color depth, somehow that glass bridges that gap between 14-bit color depth and 16-bit, because I have been asked to send stills to video production companies before. They're like, hey, we're thinking about getting a stills camera. You've done work with us before. What do you recommend? I send them 100 to 120 images that are all taken around the same time. So same level of creativity or similar. Similar editing style across the board. Variation of subjects. And I say, hey, pick out your favorite images and I'll tell you which camera they were shot on. Every time they pick every Leica image. There's no Fuji, there's no Sony, there's no Canon image that they select. They all pick Leica. It looks better. And every blind test that I've done says that.
Interesting.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Suck it like a haters. All right, last one. This one does come from a friend of ours that's at most of the film walks. But on a lighter note, to finish out the questions, if you didn't have your car, what would you drive instead that was fun?
My car?
If you didn't have your car, what would you drive instead?
Oh.
What do you drive now? That's also maybe.
So in another lifetime, I'm a race car driver. I love race cars. I love cars in general. I love the idea of driving fast. Ford versus Ferrari, one of my favorite movies.
Good one.
I'm a big car guy, so I knew what was going to happen in the end of that movie, and it still blew me away. I love when a movie can execute something that you already know. Big Short's another great one. We all know what's going to happen to that.
Yeah.
Still amazing movie.
Yeah.
So I love cars. So as big as I am, I'm not in a truck. I'm in a Camry TRD. I can drive really fast in it, but I can also get 35 miles to the gallon.
Nice.
Best of both worlds. Can fit all my C-stands. Can fit my 6x6 that I had the other night. I have no problems with it. And if I didn't have my car and I was driving something fun, I don't have the balance for a motorcycle. I would like to think that I would be doing that. Right now, I'm really I'm waiting till I find the right one, but I want a 03 to 05 Tahoe Z71.
Nice.
And I'm waiting until I find the right one of that. I think the Vortec engine in that was great. That was just before GM went bankrupt and they got subsidized by the government, and then they changed the Vortec engine. So the 03 to 05, love those Tahoes. That's what I would drive if I didn't have my car. Little $3,000 SUV on Facebook Marketplace.
That's
there
awesome.
you go.
Heard it here first.
Yeah. Blake, anything to close us out, man? Because we've apparently got a date with the Essential.
With the Essential. So Mason, we end every episode by asking our guests in their own words, and they, you can answer as long as you want, as short as you want. But yeah, what does photography mean to you?
So we talked earlier about the shoot that Noah and I met on. I don't even know how we got connected with that. Was it Courtney Bell, maybe?
Could have been. Yeah.
I left Birmingham close to after that to move home to be with my mom and help take care of her and my grandma and my siblings. So my stepdad could just keep working and take care of it, all the heavy financial burden. And my mom really encouraged me after seeing my iPhone stuff. Like, I joke about Visco, but she was seeing all that stuff. She's like, you should get a camera. And I was like, Mom, I'm taking care of you. I'm not making any money. Like, you're going to pay for it? She's like, no, but you should go get one. I'm like, sweet. If you see, like a $400 charge, I think I bought $400 worth of Taco Bell for the kids. And she did pass in 2017. And I'm glad you mentioned earlier, David is my middle name. I lost my dad when I was 11, and that's a way that I keep him a part of my business. I've never gone by Mason David in my entire life, but when I decided to do this, I wanted him to be a part of it. And the way my mom's a part of it is I look like her, just with a beard.
Is she as tall as you?
She liked to say that she was 5'12".
Okay.
And so, my dad never got to see me as a photographer. My mom pushed me to be a photographer even to the very end. And she never really got to know me as that. And part of it is this expression that they both taught me very well of, my dad got me into some of my favorite movies growing up. And that was, a lot of treasured memories was just, he didn't have a car. So we'd walk to the movie theater. We'd walk everywhere. But, and I thought this was the way people did it. He didn't have a car. And then, my mom in her, last stages of chemo really painted a lot. And man, she taught me the importance of, like, professional or not, everyone should have an artistic outlet. Cooking, painting, taking pictures, whatever it is, there's something to be said for expressing who you are and the way you see things without using words. And if you can do that, you can get the stuff out that you need to get out. And then also the added benefit, someone else might really appreciate it. So photography to me is a way that, some of the things we've talked about, it's a blessing because we get to capture moments. It's a weighted blessing because we are memorializing these memories, so don't screw it up. It's a way for me to carry on this legacy of just loving others through my gift, the way that my mom did. It's a way of being a good steward of what God has given me. And I think that's what we're all called to do, is to be good stewards of what we've been given. That's not always money, as much as the Dave Ramsey fans like to say. Sometimes it's the gifts that you've been given and being a good steward of those. And I'm not a perfect example of any of the things I just listed by any means, but that is what photography means to me. And I try to, pursue that and try to pursue that well.
Beautifully said. Man. Yeah, that was awesome. That's great.
My closing remarks would be it's been 10 years since, and I would imagine on that shoot there wasn't a ton of in-depth conversation. It was, stand over there, or you guys
hold
look
this
here,
chicken.
or do that, or hold
I was
this
worried
chicken,
about talons, man.
Yeah, it was. So fast forward here and to hear your story, and man, it's been a breath of fresh air tonight, and just to see where you're at now and what you're doing in photography, and really and truly, I feel like, and I'm no, I don't consider myself some voice in the industry, but I feel like you're on this bubble where you're getting ready to just go over the edge of like the old book, The Tipping Point. You're there, and that I feel like it's really going to open up for you, man. I really do. I've seen your work and hearing your story and just knowing how you connect with people, and it's exciting to be here watching it. It's exciting to be here talking to you about it. And again, we're blessed to have you on the podcast, and honored for you to be sitting here as we are with all the guests we've had. But we appreciate you taking time, out of your night for us, man.
Yeah. I am humbled that you guys have me here on the couch.
Of course, man. Yeah. Always. Well, sick. Yeah. Thanks for being here, man. And for those listening, you can find us on anywhere that you find podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Instagram, Beham Film Walk. If you go to our Bitly link in our bio, we have a lot of stuff going on. But join our Discord. It's a good time in there, and people are always hanging out inside of Discord, outside of Discord, doing all sorts of stuff. But yeah, follow us and give us a like and stuff like that. Do all the things. But anyways, we'll catch you on the next one.
See you.
Peace.